Hey guys, it's Raavi, CEO and co-founder of SocialLadder. Today, what I'm going to do is show you guys a little bit about how to use the Ambassador Program Calculator. This is an awesome tool that we've developed over the last couple of years, really working with brands and understanding how ambassador programs scale and what they cost to run, and kind of what you can expect in terms of ROI and outcomes. So what I'm going to do to get started here is I'm actually going to go in and start by making a copy of the Ambassador Program Calculator. I'll just call this Demo 1, and we're good to go. So as this thing is coming up here, quick overview on what this calculator does. This is really a tool that we've been using in a couple different scenarios. One, with prospects that are looking to understand what is an ambassador program going to cost me, what can I expect to generate in terms of value, and also in another scenario where we've run a pilot with an existing prospect or customer, and now we want to look at how can we scale this program based on the information that we've learned. So we're going to actually go over that particular scenario today. And I'm just going to use some numbers that are similar to something I just went through recently with a customer that did a pilot with us. So we can start by taking a look at how the Ambassador Program Calculator is organized. So at the top, I've got some instructions on what to do. Below that, some program assumptions. Below that, monthly program budget, and then some kind of key performance indicators that are all calculated. Before I jump into this, the way that this thing is laid out here is that you really want to just type in values into the orange cells. And that's because a lot of the values are actually calculated using some of those defaults that I described, some of that intelligence that we've built up over the years. And so override allows you to go in and override any of the values that are there, or you could decide to just leave it alone and use the value that's already in there. So we just went through a pilot with one of our customers, and what we want to do is we want to take what we learned from the pilot, and we want to kind of extrapolate that out to take a look at what would this program look like if it had 200 ambassadors. So just a quick side note, when we did this pilot, it was about a 30-day pilot. There were about 30 ambassadors that joined, which is actually really great for a small 30-day pilot. And we got some good numbers that we can use here to plug in. So since I'm modeling what the program is going to look like when I have 200 ambassadors, the first thing I want to do is change that so that my team size is 200 ambassadors. Now, the default task completion rate based on our experience with customers is that it's about 20% on average, pretty conservative rate. In this pilot, we saw that we were getting about 25%. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 25% here. Average social follower count, we've got, if you're using much larger, people with much larger followings, obviously you're going to see a substantial increase in the amount of earned media value you're generating, also the amount of conversions. In this case, this is really a customer-focused ambassador program where these individuals that are joining are, pretty much hand-selected by the brand, but they typically have around, on average, 2,300 followers on Instagram. So that's what we're going to use here. Is we're going to type in 2,300. The next entry is as purchaser average spend for conversion. This has to do with what is the hurdle or barrier that an end consumer has to cross in order for that to be a conversion. So the reason this is in here is you can imagine it takes a lot more work for an ambassador to convince someone to buy a $50,000 car versus a free app download, right? Or to make a purchase that's significantly lower. So in this case, the example, this was a direct-to-consumer company, fashion brand. So we're gonna plug in what they found was the average spend of the first purchase, kind of average size of the first purchase made. It's around $120. And then the next one is what's the value of the conversion. Now, this is pretty important. You really want to think about, as a brand, what is the value of a conversion? What does it mean when I convert someone? And usually what we recommend is that you use the LTV, or the lifetime value of that customer. In this example, just in chatting with the brand about this, This is around $300 is the lifetime value of the customer. So I'm going to plug that in. And then the margin. Now, why do we put in a reward margin? What this is really understanding if we're going to give away product as a reward, if that product has a street value of $100 but only costs us $50 to make that, that can really be helpful in thinking about the budget for the ambassador program. So I'm going to put in the gross margin. It was actually, in this case, closer to 80%. So I'm just going to plug in 80%. We'll override that. And the next item is operational staff salary. Now, many cases we leave this blank and let the executives at the customer, whoever's ultimately using this, fill this in. In this case, we'll leave the default, the operational staff salary. Again, these are junior people that are actually running the ambassador program, more of a community manager type of resource. I've got in 30,000 here. Let's actually override it. Let's put in 35,000 just to see how this works. And then minimum admin team size. This has to do with what is the current team size that we see running this program. I'm going to leave it at 1, and I'm going to leave the default at 1 as well, which says additional team member per 500 ambassadors. And the reason this is here is that when we're looking at ROI, we're also trying to factor in what are the staffing costs on the customer side to have managers, community managers who are responsible for managing the ambassadors. And so this will automatically scale up. So we can leave the defaults here. And then social tasks per month. So there's a complicated formula that's involved, again, based on our knowledge on how many social tasks per month are going to be performed. Again, depending on what size of ambassador you're using, whether these are really true customer ambassadors or more of a micro-influencer, this will automatically change. In this case, we'll leave the default. This seemed to work pretty well for the customer. We saw in the pilot they were doing about 5 social tasks per month. Again, this is the number of social tasks that are made available by the brand for this ambassador community. We'll leave that at 5. And then conversions per ambassador per month. Now, what we saw here was in this particular pilot, they had about 30 people join, as I said, and they had about 30 sales. What I want to do is, instead of using 1, meaning 1 conversion per ambassador, which is what they saw in the pilot, we're actually going to plug in a number of about 0.5. And the reason for that is we've learned a lot over the years in that, when you're looking at the first 30 days of an ambassador program, you need to factor for some kind of healthy amount of ambassador churn, where ambassadors who are not performing really well are either removed from the program or leave, and then you want to continually recruit new ambassadors and add them to the pool. And so what that means is your first month's data in a pilot, you want it to be conservative. We want to cut that in half, and that will account for some of those scenarios that I'm describing, that ambassadors who join a program in the first 30 days, they might exhaust all of their friend list or a lot of their friend list. What we typically see is that in the second month, they maybe sell half as much, and in the third month, they sell maybe half as much as that. And so kind of easy shorthand math here is to just take the number and divide it in half. And that is the number that you want to use kind of as the average amount of conversions per ambassador per month that you want to see. So I've plugged in 0.5 over here. And now you can see my monthly program budget is automatically calculating for me. So I've got a budget of what it would cost me on a monthly basis if I want to give away cash to ambassadors. If I want to give away product to ambassadors, I can see what that budget would be. And I also have the ability to plug in a software budget. Obviously, you want to talk to your sales rep and we can get you a quote. In this example, I'm just going to put in $1,500 a month as the software budget. And I've got again, I can override the staff value. It's factoring that I'm going to have about 1 full-time person on the customer side running the program. And working out kind of what the monthly fee is, or rather what the monthly costs are surrounding that individual. And then I can choose over here whether I want to ultimately use product or cash. I'm going to choose that I want to use product. And now I can see kind of my overall KPIs for this program. So I'm going to need to budget around $1,300 a month for rewards. I'm going to want to, I'm going to expect that I'm going to have around 250 ambassador posts per month. Again, this has to do with what the participation rate is in the social tasks combined with how many social tasks are being assigned. You can see how many impressions per post are being generated. This is factoring in the kind of average number of um, engagements that we see, the total number of impressions on the post. In order to calculate that, this is factoring in, again, a bunch of other information, not just kind of their total following, but how many people on average like and comment on posts of an ambassador with this size following. So that's a pretty good number. You can see it's going to tell me, roughly speaking, what the social media engagement rate is to expect, what the earned media value is I can expect to generate per month. Again, this is calculated using a bunch of math to estimate what the earned media value is based on all the social posts that are being created by the ambassador team. And then the total conversion value per month is, again, calculated based on all these factors that I've provided. And this is a good basis for kind of what I can expect once I scale the program to 200 ambassadors. And then ultimately, you can see two other really cool numbers here. One is the ROI. So what is the ROI that I'm getting from the program? It's fun to come in here and look at kind of as the ambassador program grows, right? How does that ROI shift? So you can just plug in, numbers here and play with it a little bit. We encourage our customers to do that. Obviously, you'll see that there are various factors that are going into these formulas to kind of drive this. And then finally, the CAC, or customer acquisition cost. We look at kind of an estimated customer acquisition cost based on the total program cost. So this is really factoring in the total staff budget, the payroll of the staff, the rewards, kind of all of those things to really come up with a customer acquisition cost. Again, this was a quick overview on how to use the ambassador calculator. Really using a scenario of a real life example we recently did with one of our customers. Hope this was helpful, and definitely reach out if we can help you with any of your ambassador program needs. Thanks, guys.